there haven't been people here a long time. I expect this whole area was settled about 1860 or 1870.
Yeah.
And I think my family's been here since then. And I'll try to tell you the truth as the best I know it, because you know what happens with family history, it could be a total lie. So we just perpetrated over the years. On my father's side, the original family, I believe they were Irish, and they probably came after the Irish potato famine.
So around the potato famine when
Yeah, when most of the Irish came, you know. Because what happens, I understand from what I read, but they used to have these settlement meetings in Kingston, and if you were kind of standing straight, and you said, I don't mind mosquitoes,
so
they ended up with 4 200-acre farms.
Over
In Bradshaw, yes. And so, and they ended up with 3 daughters, and they gave each one of their daughters a farm. My grandma got the farm next door to the Lund farm, and that's where my dad was born, and then I was born, and my grandmother's sisters, each one got one married to Hamill and one married to Stinson, and each one of the girls got a farm. And so the girls were, it sort of was really the women were the strength in our family for a long time, because everybody knew that it was kind of the girls' land.
Right.
Yeah. Well, my older brothers, never happened with me, but we were so maternally kind of centered, matriarchally centered, and they would all start work at 16 years of age, and they never brought their pay envelopes were never opened.
You brought them to pay them.
They laid them down, and they gave them to my mom, and she opened them up, and they always had boots and shirts and sandwiches and money to spend and go out with their girlfriends, but there was never a conversation. It was just
you brought a bunch of
they never opened their pay envelopes. I'm the 7th son, and then I have a younger brother and sister. So there were 9 of us, which is really a traditional sized family in the 40s and 50s.
Did they go to high school?
No, they all sort of half-assed went to high school. You know how people went 9 and 10?
Yeah.
In those days, kind of high school graduation was 10.
Right.
They had 2 graduations. Well, they had 3 graduations: grade 10, grade 12, and grade 13. And I went to the little school at Bradshaw that's still there. It's probably the nicest restored school, probably the nicest school in the county that kept its, didn't get compromised. But it was one of the last, and there was about 32 kids. They were all farm kids. And then I moved into Sharbot Lake High School, which was a big school then, because that's the baby boomers. All the baby boomers come in.
So that was when it was.
I had 122 kids in grade 9 with me. Okay. And that's probably almost as big as the school is now. Two schools, 250 or 240 or something.
Yeah.
So we had 3 or 4 grades of grade 9s. Then they started, when I went to Queens, they started building universities, right? They built almost every university in Ontario was built when I started university.
Right.
66 and 67.
Okay, that's
Brock and
Trent
and
64, 65.
Yeah, they were getting ready for all that. And Queens was very small. It was like a big high school. Like 30. I kind of recall 3,000 or 4,000 students. Right. Yeah, I want to be careful because I never did the tally, but certainly I was in honors chemistry and there's only 25 students.
Okay.
So that isn't even a big high school class, is it? None of us felt poor. I mean, you didn't know anybody that talks about Sharbot Lake High School being a poor school. Nobody had any impression, and I surely still don't, that you're poor or whatever. You only know that when you go to Queens. And I thought, I think my whole family income was $6,400. My brother working, and my mom and the whole thing, and then kids, their parents were vice presidents of Alcan, making $30,000 a year. Right. That was kind of the comparable. It didn't. I don't know if it ever really any real impression of being poor, but certainly never having the feel of being poor when I grew up, because there was always food.
Yeah.
I think and we really were like an ethnic community. I mean, they really are. Your little farm communities.
Yeah.
You didn't travel to Niagara Falls to play the casino.
Yeah. People were here.
People were here. That's right. Yeah.
So you went to Queens, and then after that you did.
Yeah, I went to Queens from '67 to whatever that number of years is,
Right.
4 years, and then in October 1970 I went to Australia with two buddies.
Okay.
I went around the world, and so I ended up in Australia, and because I had a biology degree, I immediately got work. I worked for a big agricultural company, first agricultural planner they ever hired. Somebody to, because most of the guys are working guys, and I had a science degree, and so I had a great time there. I had a wonderful job, and got to play as a 22-year-old. After. And then after that, when I wanted to come home, then I came home on an expedition. I went through Africa and Europe, and did all that sort of, not quite backpacking, but very close to it, and then get back here and immediately got work. Met Martin Walsh and all those guys, and then kind of North Frontenac Community Services history after that. In 1972, Trudeau came out with all those programs, to get youth working and see the country and whatever else. And St. Lawrence College got some kind of a grant to do work in the outlying communities, because St. Lawrence was only 3 years old then, or 4 years old, right? It was a brand new institute, one building. So there was a guy named Doug Baker, and he had got connected to the communications group, which was kind of a motley crew of wonderful friends of mine. Martin Walsh, Marcel Giroux, Ron Gilbertson, the guy that owned the telephone company, and somebody else, and they'd get together, and I came back and kind of knew I had played long enough and wanted a job, and so they needed an animator.
Yeah.
And
I just love that they would, the idea now of hiring an animator.
Yes. Yeah. But something, that was my job. And that's been my whole career. That's all I do here. Right. Animate people. I mean, you don't really, you're so limited what work you can do by yourself, unless you're, Picasso or something.
Right.
It's getting other people wanting to join your vision.
Yeah.
That's what anime, and so I had great fun. I mean, that was a great job. Great for me to be able to test some of my theories about how you can coordinate things and how you can take the inefficiencies away. And it's just a free time. You can sit down with somebody and say, you're delivering, this is kind of crazy. Why are you delivering 3 things, at different costs? And, there's only one client. And so I was able to test lots of that stuff around health and social services. The other thing, being able to just go into a room and say, I'm here to organize you. Let's talk about how we can do something. Right. And that model still works, Jeff. Right. I could take 10 people in 3 or 4 hours, find out what their common objective is, and pull them together. Because that's just life. People want to do stuff. Right. People want their community better.